Welcome to the Building Leadership Community Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Dora Mendez. I want to bring on, this episode has been a little different, and we've aligned it with FIFA World Cup theme. So we thought we reached out to the rest of the family to get their reflections on leadership. And if you are watching us on video right now, take a quick second to like this video, hit the subscribe button, and ring notification bell so you never miss our weekly leadership strategy breakdown. And if you're listening on your favorite audio podcast platform, whether that's Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else, go ahead and hit the follow button right now. But most importantly, if this story brought a smile to your face, share this episode with someone who might need a little bit of inspiration today. Roll credits. Hello, and welcome to Building Leadership Community Podcast. I'm your host, Dora Mendez. I am the founder and CEO of Coach Dora LLC. Our guests will be entrepreneurs, small business owners, and community leaders that drive social impact. It can be lonely at the top, but it doesn't have to be. Thank you for being here, my sister. Thank you for joining us on a very special episode of the Building Leadership Community Podcast. I wanted to let you know that your niece and your nephew took over the show. So this is very, very special episode of the Building Leadership Community Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Dora Mendez, and this is my sister, who happens to be an amazing leader in the world of the arts, Rocío Mendez, a fight and intimacy director, and the fun aunt of Naomi and Mateo. And I'm I'm just so happy to include you in this amazing conversation that we have about how the World Cup brings together diverse cultures. It is the feeling that we are having here now that the World Cup is for the first time the biggest event in the whole world is focused in the Americas. And I would love to get your reflections on leadership, collaboration, teamwork, whatever you'd like to share with us. We always love to hear what you have to say.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for having me back. And I'm so proud of Mateo and Naomi being like, this is what we're going to do. Look, they're already smart and getting their juices flowing, which is really exciting. Probably inspiration from their mom and their dad, which is amazing. And I think this is really cool. I mean, the World Cup is here. I used to follow it way more in the past than I do now. But one thing that I loved about it was just showing up at places and how many people got together to like represent or look forward to different countries playing and rooting for whatever team that they're rooting for. But I think what's really fun and interesting about the World Cup is that these teams, even though they represent specific countries, they come from all over the place. You know, they're recruited, maybe they are from there, but and you sort of have to do a wide search for these athletes because someone could have gone to like college, university, or whatever to play this sport, but you never know. There's maybe that kid who never got those same opportunities who could play even better than that person who was training all their life just because their instincts were better and stuff like that. So looking for all those kinds of people everywhere around the world globally to bring them together to get the best team that you possibly can to represent whatever team that they're going for. And I think that's kind of one of the beauties of diversity is that like you never know who's going to bring that touch to a team to really make it spark, to make them come together and like suddenly like heighten themselves because all these players are coming together with different lived experience, different training, and playing this phenomenal game. That's a really hard game to play, frankly. And then being able, this is the World Cup. right? It's like global. So it's also like everyone in the world coming in together to watch these teams and see who kicks whose butt.
Yeah, and so I love to, because like your role is so, for context for listeners and our viewers who didn't get a chance to see your episode, they definitely should check it out. Um, your job is so physical as a fight and intimacy director for the theater, and so I would love to get some like insight about the physicality. I mean, the mental and the physical preparation it takes to lead in a in a collaborative atmosphere. You it's something that you have, that you do, and you're very disciplined at it, like taking care of your mind, body, and spirit. Do you have any insights and reflections to share with our audience and viewers about what it takes to really lead a, a, a collaborative effort that is very physical, that can be draining to your energy?
Yeah, I think there's several ways to go about it. And of course, self-care is number one, right? Like if I can't be show up as a full self, how can I even show up for other people, right? So of course, self-care is 100% important to me. So yes, that does include working out, eating right, sleeping as much as I can. All the, like, I think typical human things we all need. Going to therapy, just staying on my continuing to learn, continuing education. I always try to, whether it's a class or a seminar or a workshop or a book, like always also try to keep up to date with my industry and what's going on. And that's like sort of the self reflection part, what I need to do to just try to be my best self as much as I can when I show up to work. And then I think the collaboration part, or when I walk into a room, it's really remembering that I do have diverse backgrounds that I'm working with physically. So there's people who I've worked with who are enter the room who are like martial artists, and there are people who have no hand-eye coordination whatsoever. And it's really my job to see where the strengths and weaknesses are and like focus on those strengths to make them look as good as they can for the role that they're doing, right? It's really my job to be like, you know what, let's shift and move it this way so this person could look really good at what they're doing, and that whatever character they're playing, they are that character. So that's where it gets a little bit creative. And that's also where it gets collaborative, because I have to ask those people, like, okay, does it feel better going to the right or to the left, right? Like, what is it that feels good in your body? What feels natural? What are you doing naturally in your body so that this could look natural? Because the way my body moves is not the same way anybody else's body move on the planet. It's just my individual thing. So I have to trust the instinct of the actors. I have to trust the instinct of the director. And then I also have to trust my instincts of like what looks good and what makes these people look as close and as strong and confident as their character is supposed to. Um, and it's really, it all depends. It's hit or miss, because I literally work with so many people in all the different projects. You know what I mean? I've run
Well,
across.
I love to hear, Rocio, I love to hear what you're working on. And I know this episode is about the World Cup
Yeah.
and the reflections and the lessons we learned from it. But I always love to hear, like, is there a new show? Because I believe that we're gonna have a bigger audience, listeners and viewers, because we have a World Cup episode. I really do believe that. And I think that, is there anything you'd like for new people to our podcast to know about you and what's coming up for you in 2026?
Well, the biggest thing right now is at American Repertory Theater in Cambridge, Massachusetts. There is a new musical. It's a dance thriller musical, and it is the musical adaptation of the film Black Swan. And it is
Wow.
really, really fantastic. It is a fabulous, fantastic show. And it really is like a thriller, which I've never seen on stage personally. And it was a very, very cool experience. And that was another example of a collaborative experience where, I really wanted to, because there's a lot of intimacy in it. And I wanted to make sure that the actors felt super confident and were super specific in what they were doing. So there were no accidents, you know what I mean? So that is a great show that's playing now. And it's there, I believe, until July 15th. It just got extended twice. So that's how popular the show is. So run and get your ticket. And then, of course, as you know, and some of your listeners and hopefully future listeners will now know that I am the resident intimacy director at Oregon Shakespeare Festival. So I'm here all year round. And we're about to open 3 shows next weekend, which is Taming of the Shrew, Henry IV Part 1, which has a bunch of fights. It's so fun. And Emma. So those are the shows going on here now at OSF. There's more shows here. We typically do 9 to 11 shows per season, and all of those run until October. So that's what's current in my life now.
So you're no stranger to welcoming guests and tourists, because people travel from all over to visit your Shakespeare Festival, which we did a couple of years ago with the children, and we loved it. It was beautiful. And I want to thank you again for joining us on this very special episode of the Building Leadership Community podcast. Sharing your reflections on the lessons we can learn about diversity and collaboration and balancing people's strength, and the self-care and discipline that it takes when you're doing a job that's very physical, like those athletes, like those elite athletes.
Right.
So thank you so much, Rocío. Love you.
I love you too, sister. Have a good one.
You've been listening to Building Leadership Community. Watch on YouTube at Coach Dora M. Listen wherever you get your podcasts. Follow me on LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube at Coach Dora M. Visit me on the web at CoachDoraMendez.com. Hosted by me, Dora Mendez. Produced by Dora Mendez and Dylan Rogers. Graphics, editing, and sound mixing by Dylan Rogers.